Hello friends and foes of Middle-earth and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the War of the Rohirrim yet again. I've actually wanted to talk about today's topic for a very long time, so today we finally will. And the topic is, as the title indicates, Shieldmaidens in the upcoming War of the Rohirrim, set to release in April 2024. If you haven't heard the news yet, there's going to be an anime Lord of the Rings film called War of the Rohirrim. It's about the Long Winter, when Helm Hammerhand ruled as King of Rohan, one of its most famous kings. I've already covered a bit about this in a video in the past, as well as my top 5 hopes for the anime. Feel free to watch those afterwards or pause here and watch those first. Oh, and don't worry, it's not produced by Amazon, but by Warner Brothers. Anyway, I think Shieldmaidens will play a role in this story, and it opens up for an interesting lore discussion, as well as some news about the film you might not have heard yet. If you know the lore, you know the whole war between Rohan and the Dunlendings started when Freka travelled to Edoras and requested that Helm's daughter be wed to his son Wulf. Helm didn't really approve of this idea, so he struck him so hard that Freka died from the blow, thus the name Hammerhand. Freka's son Wulf then declared war on Rohan and conquered Edoras. Here Helm's son Halath died at the doors of Meduseld as the last man. Helm and his other son Háma were besieged in Hornburg, called Southburg at the time. During the siege, the Rohirrim's food ran low and the people began to starve. After Yule, Háma led a group out of the fortress on a sortie to find food, but they got lost in the snowstorm and never returned. And you might have heard how Helm Hammerhand went out and killed Dunlendings with his bare hands, and how he died in one of these night sorties, possibly from famine and cold. His body was discovered frozen in the snow, still standing. Later in the early spring, his nephew, Freyolaf Hildason, came down from Dunharrow and led a daring surprise raid against the Dunlendings that recaptured Edoras. With aid from Gondor, he eventually drove the Dunlendings back across both the rivers Isen and Adorn, freeing all of Rohan. The Dunlendings who had occupied Isengard were starved until they capitulated and left the fortress. He became the 10th king of Rohan. In the anime, he will be voiced by Lawrence Williams. But there is one character that completely leaves the narrative in the lore, and that's Helm's daughter, whose very name we don't even know. Lore-wise, we have no idea what happened to her after Helm killed Freka, and perhaps you have some idea about her from the Shadow of War game, but please try and forget that, as it's very lore inaccurate in pretty much every way imaginable. So what did actually happen to her in the lore, if we had to guess? It's possible she died in Edoras along with her brother Halath, but she could have been in Hornburg during the siege. I find it more likely than being killed, and the text only mentions how the death of Helm's sons struck him with grief. Helm seems to have cared a lot about her, so it should probably have been mentioned in the text if she actually died. There is a third scenario though, which I find the most likely, and which I think they'll use in the film. She might have been with the Rohirrim that fled to Dunharrow, along with her cousin Freyolaf. Perhaps also with Hild, the sister of Helm Hammerhand. In the film, we know Helm's daughter will be called Héra and voiced by Gaia White. I'm not a fan of the name, it's the exact same name as Zeus's wife, so it really gives me some Greek vibes, but at least it appears to be an anglo-saxon name. Many would probably guess it's a feminine form of hero, but Héra actually means one who obeys, so a servant or a follower. I have my doubts she will be like that though. The Deadline article we have only says the following. Finding herself in an increasingly desperate situation, Hera, the daughter of Helm, must summon the will to lead the resistance against a deadly enemy intent on their total destruction. Sadly, I fear they'll turn her into another girl boss warrior, who will feel like a cheap copy of Eowyn. Miranda Otto, who played Eowyn, will actually also do a voiceover for the film, but you have probably already heard that. I know many of us are very tired of these over-the-top female warriors. It seems to appear in every movie and show these days. It's too much, and a manly man seems to be a rare thing these days. So I hope they will at least approach it respectfully to the source material and not make it the center of the story. I've already heard some people claim that she will be the protagonist, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Helm Hammerhand, voiced by Brian Cox, will be the protagonist, and I think it's a good idea. He's a great actor, and I'm really excited to see what he will do with a character like Helm Hammerhand. We need to keep in mind, it's also limited what they can cover in one film. We don't know how long it will be, but maybe 2 to 3 hours. but the fact that he mentioned this in the article without even naming Háma or Halath worries me a bit, but we will see how it goes. However, this whole idea of turning Helm's daughter into a Shieldmaiden of Rohan opens up for a fun lore discussion, cause besides Éowyn, we don't know a single Shieldmaiden of Rohan, but if ever there were another that might have been a Shieldmaiden, I think Helm's daughter is a fine candidate. So hear me out. We know Helm was quite the brute, but he was also very brave, and it seems like his sons at least were brave too. Halath, as mentioned, defended the doors of Meduseld as the last man standing. He did not surrender, but fought to the bitter end. And likewise, his brother Háma went out on a hopeless mission to find food for the starving people of Hornburg during the siege. Not to mention Helm's final deeds during the siege. So at least that makes it more plausible that his daughter was brave too. Perhaps not a great warrior, but a shield maiden that dared to fight despite how hopeless things may have seemed. So I look forward to see what they will do with her character. I just hope they stick as close as possible to the lore. I find it a bit peculiar they have revealed who will voice the daughter and Freyolaf, but not the sons Háma and Halath. Still, I remain hopeful for the project and hope for the best. Let me know what you think below. Do you think they will turn Helm's daughter into a shield maiden? And do you think it's a good or terrible idea? Leave a comment and let's discuss this. If you want to know my top 5 hopes for this anime, check out this video next. I'm sure you'll learn some lore surrounding this event. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, become a member or use the super thanks function. Farewell till next time.